Darlene Ellison, and I am an author and a professional speaker and a banker. I do a lot of things. I am community development executive for Veritex Bank. I'm the founder of 3 Women in Business programs, which is one of my favorite things that I do. I'm the chairman of the Greater East Dallas Chamber of Commerce. I'm the author of a book called The Predator Next Door. I'm a professional speaker, so I travel all over the country speaking on protecting children from child sexual abuse. And I'm a very proud wife and mother. It's probably my most important job. I guess I'm telling, I've always said I was going to write a book, a second book, that was going to be the evolution of me. I'm going to trademark that so you don't take it. That was going to be the evolution of me. And I think that as I've gotten older and embraced the tough times and learned that everybody has stuff, I guess my perspective on those moments when you're on your knees in quicksand have changed a little bit. Part of that is with age, with experience, and time does heal most wounds. And so I guess I'm kind of telling part 2, something that I hope that someday I'll write a book it's kind of like the story part 2. Even though in part 1 I was pretty sure I had all the answers and pretty sure I learned all the lessons, and I'm here to tell you not so much. So I'm in part 2 of probably like a 12-part series. So that's why I'm here, to tell part 2.
Awesome.
Many times. But yes, one from, it's been 10 years now, but finding out that the person I'd been married to for 10 and a half years and was the father of my 2 children, at the time very young children, was an FBI wanted pedophile and was arrested and went to prison. And going through just the trauma of that. I mean, even if somebody gets separated or divorced, there's trauma. So, and becoming a single parent, but then to have a very public drama surrounding that moment, being a professional woman, now being a single parent with no other income, because when you terminate parental rights, you're on your own. And so navigating there was shame and humiliation in that particular story, not because I knew anything or I just kind of was beating myself up because I felt like I should have known something, which is a common denominator in people who are a part of, in a family of friends with somebody who's an abuser of any type. And just working through that. And when I did the first interview for Women Ours and feeling like, okay, I've arrived, it's been 5 years and I've arrived, and realizing now I hadn't arrived so much. And it is, I do look back in hindsight, and I will say, and I have said probably since 2 years after everything happened, it changed everything about me. It changed how I perceived life. It changed me as a woman and how I perceived myself. It changed who I wanted to be for other people. It changed who I was as a mom. And, those are the changes that stuck, and those were good changes. I think great things can come from really bad moments and series of moments. But I also feel like if our eyes aren't wide open and our heart's not open to it, it won't stick. And there were parts of those changes and learning curves that didn't stick. And I will tell you, now 10 years since then, there were unresolved issues, and there were things that I chose to let the busyness hide them as issues. And so that leads to other traumatic moments. So I've learned a lot in those times. I will say that I've never had something bad, adverse, traumatic, however you want to word it, happen where I didn't say something good came out of it. I think that in every difficult moment, growth is the something good. and that, you know, I'm not looking for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow as much as I'm just looking for the growth and the revelation that can come from it. But you've got to be eyes wide open, heart wide open. Yeah. There have been a few aha moments, I will tell you that. You know, I used to, as the book kind of took off and I was speaking more and the women in business, you know, programs were taking off and I didn't expect that. And my kids were getting busier and busier as they were moving towards high school and going through high school. And, you know, I took such pride when somebody would say, girl, how do you get 8 hours of sleep? How do you manage it all? How do you? And I was superwoman. And I would say, well, believe it or not, I get 8 hours. Just got to take care of yourself. And it is a myth. It really is. Because I was thinking about, you know, on the way over here, you know, if there's a lesson that I've learned, it's really a very simple lesson, and that's take care of your house. And I don't mean house meaning the building you live in. Our house is ourselves and what's inside of ourselves, and that we have to take care of our house. And a lot of women interpret that also as, oh, I need to work out or I need to eat right. And yeah, you do need to do those things. But your house is also your significant other, and your house, you know, includes your children. And when there are issues, and the areas that we're most likely to have, just as human beings, the areas we're most likely to have issues are in our relationships, whatever those might be. And so it's very easy to hide behind your busyness, and that took a toll on me. And you know, especially this past year, and you know, once my last child left for college, and it really, I thought I was going to have all this time, and you know, what I realized that I had neglected in my particular house, I'd neglected myself in terms of, you know, I'd gained a lot of weight. It made me unhappy. It made me angry, and I took that out on, you know, my spouse, and taking care of him and being a partner as opposed to this person that was over here being busy and he should just be proud of me. And so I had to take a step back, a hard step back, and it's probably harder than what I went through 10 years ago, because I was in a different place and I was truly by myself, like physically by myself for a short period of time. And that had never happened before, because there was the busyness and the taking care of the kids and, oh, how am I going to do this? And I've got to add a job and I've got to write this book. And this time it was about me in a quiet house and me and my yoga mat, me and a glass of wine every once in a while. And I learned about a lot of unresolved stuff from 10 years ago, from 5 years ago, from a year ago. And I will sit here and tell you today, in 2015, I'm in the best place I've ever been in my life, because work-life balance means prioritizing your house first. And again, that house is that temple called you. And I was talking the talk, but I wasn't walking the walk. So, you know, it's funny when I think about, like, you know, people will say, well, who has impacted you the most, or who has inspired you the most? And I used to always struggle with, oh, I've got to come up with a good name. And what inspires me and motivates me today, I don't know if it's my age, I don't know if it's having gone through some pretty traumatic stuff, because we all have stuff. It's real people and real stories, and meeting some of the women we meet through Women in Business, and you know, some of the entrepreneurs, or some of the women who are, you know, delving into a brand new career, or who are going through major life changes. You know, I get what that is, and I get what that feels like, and it's the real people that inspire me and motivate me, and it's the opportunity to make a difference in one life, to change one life, and to do it maybe a little differently than other people do, because I think I see the world a little differently. I do. I think I'm very transparent. I think transparency is a good thing. And when it comes, like, when I think about what motivates me, and the saying, the truth will set you free. Amen. When you are truthful about everything, I don't mean tell the truth. I mean, just to be truthful. And it's not about what comes out of your mouth. It's about living truthfully. When you live truthfully and you're not hiding things, there's an element of stress that just cannot possibly exist inside of you anymore, because you're living truthfully. You are honoring who you are. You are honoring what you stand for, good, bad, and ugly. You're being truthful. And so I think I'm inspired most by people who are transparent, people who are authentic, people who respond to my transparency, because I realize that sometimes when I talk about certain things, they're like, oh, do we need to be talking about that? And it's just honest, just being honest. And those are the people I'm drawn to as well. When you can judge, you can agree or not agree, you can stand here politically or there politically. I don't really care. It's just appreciating who we are as human beings. And maybe it is some of the stuff I've been through. Maybe it's just part of living life truthfully. I'd been with Veritex Bank for 2 weeks and was looking for community outreach programming that would, A, serve as job security for me, no kidding, B, would serve an underserved market. And it was funny because I'd always been a female entrepreneur, and I never, and I've done various things in my life, and I don't even think I thought of myself that way. I was just a girl making a living, using my brains and my relationships and my education to make a living. I mean, that's, how I viewed it. And after going through what my children and I went through 10 years ago, and being a professional woman and having adjusted careers, because the career I'm in now was not the career I was in at that time. And it was because of life changes that I went into this profession with the intent of being here for 6 months or a year, and then, going back to whatever it was I loved. And so I honestly didn't think at the time of women professionals as being underserved. I felt like we didn't have as many networking opportunities because there wasn't as much freedom in our days. And a lot of that was because so many of the women, at the time, I had, young kids, and at the time, I was a mom, and I was juggling, single mom and juggling kids, and had this life-changing, series of moments. And I knew that so many women, when I started calling some of my friends saying, I was kind of thinking we just have this networking group. We'll just kind of start out small, but how, and I use this as an example when I called these women, and I said, how the guys go to, there's a country club, down the street, how the guys go work out, and then they go sit in the card room and have a drink, and suddenly they come out and they've just closed a deal, and they were going there to work out. Why aren't we doing that? Why are we not doing that? So I thought, okay, what do women like to do? Women love getting together with other women. And women, like wine and appetizers, especially after a long day at work. What is the time frame? What are the days of the week? What might work? And I thought about myself. If somebody invited me to a networking event, what would I do? Well, first thing is I'm not real good with with requirements. So if you're going to require me to bring referrals, if you're going to require me to attend 3 out of 4 a month, if you're going to require me, or if it's going to be really expensive, I can't do it. I can't. The other thing was, if you're going to always do it on the same day of the week and the same week of the month, so if I sit on a board, or if I have my yoga, that's my only sanity, once a week, and yours are on the same night as that, I now am excluded from your networking group. Not intentionally, but I'm excluded. And so trying to create something that was inclusive and not exclusive, trying to put together something that was about, there may be 5 people in your same industry or like industries. I don't care, because we build relationships. That's what we do. And sometimes women in the same or like industries collaborate with each other to create something bigger and better. But how do you know that if you're not in the same room with them drinking wine and having appetizers? So that was really the thinking. Now, I had 10 friends that I called and said, go invite 10 friends. Y'all are ambassadors. I really need this job, so help me out here. And we did this, and I remember having, like 40 at the first one, and it kind of went on. And by the end of the first year, I easily had 60 people in the room when I was running these things. And what I noticed is that there would always be about 1/3 to 1/4 of the room would be brand new. And I thought that was fascinating. And I thought, this is never going to last. It's life cycles. Everything has a life cycle. Networking groups especially, life cycle, maybe a couple of years. Started another one in another community because they're community-based. And amazingly enough, I kept having these new people that were coming and oh, we heard about you, or oh, a friend forwarded your information to us, and great reception. And then all of a sudden, they actually started, because I was doing this through the bank, and I was offering it for free because the bank was presenting it, so I could do this. And now I'm offering, that's the big clincher, was to do something free for these women. And it's for women business owners and entrepreneurs and executives and directors and things like that. And so suddenly they were like doing business with me. And that was crazy, because then I'm hearing the guys in the bank, going, wow, hey, Darlene, that's amazing. Look at you growing your portfolio. I didn't do this on purpose. I didn't really do it for that. But okay, of course that's why I did that. Yeah, that's great. And it really was to provide a space, a time, and an opportunity for women, like-minded women. So they were all business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, directors, executives, who would come into a room and would loosen up a little and build friendships. Because I think one thing that women are really, really good at are building friendships. And that's the premise of, I've never done a cold call. I am in sales, technically. If you look at business development the way, it is what it is. It's a fancy word for sales. And I have never done a cold call. I do warm calls because I believe in building friendships. It's interesting because I run a group that is not age specific or industry specific, and so the only thing that's specific is gender. And so it's interesting because I think the needs differ at different ages. And I think one of the most unique thing about our Women in Business group is that we'll have these girls in their mid to late 20s. We'll have women in their 60s, all in one room, networking and talking, and they come from different life experiences. Certainly, they've just experienced different things in different ways. They have different perceptions in life. They have different levels of technological awareness, different relationship, views of relationships, and so I get the struggles are different, but we all have them. And I think the most basic, fundamental thing in most women is that we are good at building relationships, but our self-doubt is absolutely amazing. And so many people think, there'll be some confident young woman and she comes in and she's right out of college and she's shaking hands and she's dressed to the nines, and, there is self-doubt. I see so many women, because I have an internship program through the Women in Business program, and they're trying so hard. It's almost like it's mechanical. It's like somebody has said, you need to shake hands this way. You need to look this way. You need to wear these kinds of clothes. And, I see that. And then with the older women, it's a self-doubt because they come from a generation where, most of them, a majority of them, were stay-at-home moms. And so this is kind of a new and exciting world to them, And then I think you have those of us who are, maybe 40s, 50s, who have been working for a while, who have maybe climbed a ladder, maybe not, maybe changed career multiple times, whatever it may be, that feel probably more that whole male-dominated industry thing, or that, or like when, like I'm in banking, somebody go, oh, you're a banker. And they're looking me up and down and they're thinking, well, she doesn't dress like a banker, And I always chuckle at that. I take pride in those moments. But a perception, it's just a perception. I think underlying, it probably is a self-doubt and being secure in who we are. And I used to, not meaning to apologize is probably the wrong word, but apologize for the fact that I had had different careers in my life, or that I had done different things. I joke around with my interns. I'll say, you can look at my resume and either think that I'm completely schizophrenic, or you can look at my resume and go, aren't those some interesting milestones she's had along the way, stepping stones to what she's doing now. And I used to apologize for that, and now I kind of go, it's who I am. It's part of that transparency. It's part of living in truthfulness. That's the truth. That's who I am. And I've seen many a young woman, many an older woman say, wow, you've changed my entire perception of how I want to go about my business tomorrow. And that is huge. Have somebody say, well, I thought this way. And usually what that way is a little box. And then I had this conversation, or I experienced this networking group, or I heard you, speak about this, and I realized there's like 40 different ways to do this. And that's exciting to me. That's probably what motivates me. And I think that's what helps these other women. I think that when you put a lot of women in a room, a lot of people think, well, you get catfights. Only in college. No, high school, 5th grade, they're all there. But when you put professional women in a room, and they're like-minded women, you will have those 2 or 3 who will never come back because they didn't get a lead or a piece of business that night. And that's okay. That's not what we're designed to do. And we're very clear on who we are and what we do. But to have women come into a room to experience our networking group, to experience that make friends first and the business will follow mantra, to experience it, because people always want me to tell them about it. And I'm like, no, you kind of have to just come and experience it. And then when they do, at the end of the evening, where I'm getting hugs and they're saying, this is great, I'll be back, I'm going to tell my friends, I can't wait to go to work tomorrow, or I've been really thinking about something, about doing something, or trying this new something, but now I'm going to do it. I'm really inspired. I talked to so-and-so and so-and-so, and I think I'm going to do this. And that's why we have the group. I didn't plan it that way. It was job security. And now suddenly we have women who are collaborating, women who are meeting each other that might have never met each other, women who are doing amazing things because we've just put you all in the same room. Well, that's what women do. I really believe that way. It meant something so different to me 10 years ago. So at 48 years old, having been through several careers, experiences, professional experiences, having experienced a wide variety of women, the power is such an odd word, because power, to so many people, they think of, superheroes and Power Rangers and electricity and, whatever else power means. Being at the top, being in charge, being in control. And the power of women has nothing to do with any of those things. It's like I've unlocked this little secret. I wish I would have unlocked it earlier. The power of women is what we do that is not better, than what a man does, but different. The power of women is understanding what it is you do that is so different, and then utilizing those skills, those talents, those negotiating abilities, our feminineness. We've so many of these young women have lost what being feminine means. The power of a woman is understanding her own feminineness, not feminism, but her own feminineness. Understanding her own story, understanding how that stuff in her life, the bad times, the good times, the ugly times, how they've contributed to who she is today. Growing with that, using those experiences, using the abilities that we have to build relationships, to make friends, to balance, to juggle several things at once. Using all those skills. Those are girl skills. Using all those skills, that's the power of women. And the can't remember during Super Bowl the other night, the Like a Girl campaign. I don't even remember. Shame on me. I don't remember who was advertising. But the whole like a girl, run like a girl, throw like a girl. And I would say to women from, your first job at 15, 16 years old to your last job, which for me probably won't be until the day I die. The power of women is to do it like a woman. You throw like a girl, you run like a girl, work like a girl, think like a girl, negotiate like a girl, look like a girl, build relationships like a girl. That's the power of women. And just be truthful and faithful to who you are. I'm a quote person, so I use a lot of quotes, and I'm always like, there's the life lesson. Ooh, there's the golden nugget. And I've learned some really basic things. It's a back to basics mentality. And it's to smile. Sometimes we just forget to smile. And I don't mean fake smile, because if you don't feel like smiling, you shouldn't smile. To smile, to give money, time, whatever, to give of yourself, to give, because sometimes when we're busy being powerful, we forget to give, and to just breathe. I mean, it's just so simple. Being a woman is so simple if you let it.